jacket. It's football weather. The temperatures got cooler, but the rivalries are heating up across the state. John Tyler's first test as the 5A numero uno, their old frenemies, Tyler Lee. Cedar Hill's number 3 ranking is on the line against Dallas Skyline, and their Super Junior, DeLeon Ward, will highlight a team that drove 400 miles for one game. And that's nothing compared to the 800 miles our DQ team traveled for the big game of the week. High School Scoreboard Live kicks off now. We start with the upset of the year. The Woodlands had number 2 Katy on the ropes tonight. A 50-game regular season win streak. No scoring. Garrett Dorian finds Kyle Porter. That's a 3-yard touchdown, 7-0 Katy. But the Woodlands would respond. Just a great effort by them offensively. Check out the beautiful pass here to Hunter Moore, who hunts for the touchdown, 15 yards on the pitch and catch. We're tied at 7. Then less than 2 minutes to go in the first half, and it's Patrick Carr taking a handoff, and he was like a truck, just going right up the middle, basically untouched, 28 yards, and the score. 24 straight points for the Highlanders as they stun Katy 24-7. It's the first time the Katy Tigers have lost since September 8th, 2009. Welcome into the most comprehensive high school football show, or your money back. He is the czar of pigskin, Craig Way. I'm Rick Renner. Great to see you. We got district games, 40-mile-per-hour winds, lightning delays, guys that run like lightning, and we got upsets. A number 1, a number 2 go down, plus an all-time state record tonight.
One thing I've noticed about week number 3 of the high school football season, most of the state is wrapping up non-district play tonight. There are a couple of districts that actually began district play this weekend down in the greater Austin area and a couple other places. However, this week is when you wrap up non-district play, and quite often, Rick, coaches want to wrap up with big non-district matches. Sometimes, and we saw it tonight, they bite off a little more than they could chew.
So, would there be another upset in a big game in the DFW? Well, defending state champ Cedar Hill up against Dallas Skyline. Both so good, so talented, with big-time college talent. There might be 10 FBS kids just on the sidelines watching. In 2 games, both teams have racked up 1,000 yards of total offense. Both are 2-0, and somebody's 0 must go. Let's go to the Forester. Last team with the ball is going to win this one. Longhorns down 7-0. When Denvery Daniels gets the handoff, and he will find the edge, breaks the tackle here, and he'll get in there. And just like that, the game is tied at 7-all. Late first now. Longhorns up 7. Casey Johnson to Carlos Strickland. Great catch. Game tied after 1. Now late second quarter, Cedar Hill up 24-20, but not for long. Savon Rawlison, he'll receive the kickoff, and this kid's awfully talented. He had over 200 yards receiving last week in a shootout with Arlington Martin. You just can't get him down. He'll go 96 yards on it. They lead it 27-24. Third quarter now. Aka Cedric Ware gets the handoff. He'll break up the middle there. Cedar Hill retakes the lead 30-27. So Skyline looking to respond. Johnson to Savon, and you better save on that one. Look at this. They go on to win it 40-30. The defending champs go down.
A state-ranked 5A against the state-ranked 6A. State-ranked 6A, of course, being Euless Trinity. The Black at home to take on the state-ranked 5A from Lancaster. Trojans were down 7 till Jerron Wilson then finds the end zone there. Extra point good to tie it up. Trinity tacks on a field goal. They lead by 3 at the half. Trinity then extends the lead to 17-7, and the touchdown there widens the gap. Trinity on to the victory. The final 24-7 over Lancaster.
With Justin Stockton now at Texas Tech, we all kind of wonder how good number 6 Steele is. Well, the question was answered tonight on defense against a very good 2-0 O'Connor team. And look at the defense here. Steele, L.G. Williams finds Jalen Harris, who makes the grab, but O'Connor was able to stop the Knights on downs to start the game. Then O'Connor with the ball. Jonathan McIntyre swings out, but John Tapia there. Nice pickup. But, man, the defenses were so tough And if you could get the edge in this thing, you can hold on to win. And that's what Cibolo Steel did. They escaped the jaws of an upset 10-3 tonight.
Well, Southlake Carroll fresh from that emotional win at AT&T Stadium in Arlington last week. Now road trip, about 330 miles worth, going out to Midland to take on Midland Lee. And Dragons in the red zone. Ryan Agnew, jump ball, Parker Fentress for the touchdown. And Lee finds themselves down early 7-0. Rebs not let this one get away here. Aaron Dobbins, the shotgun handoff, speeding down the field, a gigantic run and a big momentum boost for the Rebels. Lee stopped 3 times. 4th and goal, another shotgun snap. Dobbins puts his head down. He's across. Extra point snap was muffed. It's 7-6, Carroll. Agnew continues to make plays. Look at him roll and then dodge and weave. And then another juke to go down with a stiff arm to boot to the end zone. Dragons were up 14-6. Carroll moves on with the victory as they knock off Midland Lee big 56-6.
And here's the thing, as we look at the top 10, we got number 2 and number 3 going down. Every team in this top 10 can win a state title. But here's the thing about Katy. If you're going to lose early, because it's how you finish.
It's happened to them before, although, as you pointed out, Rick, it's been a while. Same thing with Cedar Hill. It's been a while since they lose early in the regular season. And again, these non-district games are all about toughening you up for district play and ultimately for the road, that 6-week grind to try to win a state championship. These are schools with state championship pedigrees. Cedar Hill's the defending state champion. Of course, they beat Katy, who had beaten Cedar Hill the year before. So they know what it takes. Sometimes it takes a hard lesson early on in the season, final week of non-district play.
Joey McGuire, the head coach at Cedar Hill, who won the state title last year, so good about those crazy matchups early on and his team being able to overcome those and still get in the state title game.
Same thing with Gary Joseph at Katy. He knows what it takes to try to get his guys turned around. I don't think there's any question that these two teams are still going to be very difficult to deal with the rest of the way in their respective 6A districts as they move toward the postseason. Let's
take a break on Scoreboard Live. Coming up next, Aaron Hardigan will give us the lowdown of the best running backs in the state. Chris Warren looks an awful like his NFL dad. Look how big that guy is. Plus, number 1 John Tyler puts it on the line against a heated rival. That's not always a good thing. And the DQ Big Game of the Week takes us to the Mexican border in El Paso on a blue field.
High School Scoreboard Live is brought to you by your Texas Ford dealers. Visit your local Texas Ford dealer now for great deals during the Built Ford Tough Sales event. By DQ, the stop sign of Texas. For the best treats, eats, and drinks in Texas, stop at DQ. And by State Farm. Visit texas.statefarm.com to get to a better state.
Welcome back to High School Scoreboard Live. Aaron Hardigan is always here with your rapid recruiting look. And looking at the top running backs in the state this week, nice little mix of seniors and juniors, too, representing Port Arthur Memorial. Second-ranked Cam Martin and Corey Dauphine rounding out the top 10 there. This group is led, though, by Plano West Soso Jamabo, who is listed in the top 3 at his position nationally. And while Jamabo is still on the market, you see here 6 of the 10 are already committed, 5 to the Big 12. Cam Martin, the only junior of the bunch, verbally committed, and to the Baylor Bears, while teammate Dauphine plans to head to Lubbock. Other Big 12 pledges, McKinney North's Ronald Jones to Oklahoma State, South Oak Cliff's Jordan Stevenson to Texas, and Katy's Rodney Anderson to OU. Junior standouts Bryson Denley of Cibolo Steel and Dalian Ward of Dallas Skyline, like Jamabo, are also still up for grabs, as is the number 3 back in the state, Chris Warren of Rockwall, who was in action tonight against Mesquite Horn. For more on Warren and those Yellow Jackets, let's get you back now to Rick and Craig.
Thanks, Aaron. Let's check out Chris Warren's Yellow Jackets in the battle of the unbeatens with Mesquite Horn in a mist of smoke. Will Reed says, read this to Chris Warren, and look at a big fella go. He'll take it 45 yards to the house. And by the way, he's one of those guys that when he hits you, it hurts and leaves a mark for a couple of days. Then Chris Robinson to Manasare on the deep bomb for the touchdown. The game is tied at 7. Later in the third, Reed will find Wyatt Miller, and it is Miller time on the short route for the touchdown as Rockwall would go on to win it 27-6 to 14. Well, let's bring in Corbett Smith of Sports Day HS. Corbett, You were at that big game involving the defending champs Cedar Hill going down to Dallas Skyline, who, by the way, beat Arlington Martin in a shootout at AT&T Stadium last week. You were also at that one. We know the Longhorns will regroup under Joey McGuire, but what about Skyline? Is this potentially the first Dallas ISD team in decades with a legitimate shot to get to the title game and win?
I think there's no question about it. You look at what they've done here early in the season, and I keep harping on this, but if you look at the way that the region out, Allen has moved to Region 1, which means the world for Skyline. Yeah, I think Spring Westfield might be the toughest opponent there in Region 1. Or excuse me, in Region 2 in Division 1 for Skyline, and they're just not a lot of other big horses like you would find in Region 1. You've got Allen, you've got Coppell, you've got DeSoto, you've got Euless Trinity all battling for that title. Things are setting up very nicely for Skyline. Plus, they're going into a district that they will dominate, so they'll be able to play different guys. Casey Johnson, their quarterback, will be able to develop a little bit more because, remember, he's moving from safety to quarterback just recently since the start of two-a-days. So they've got some other things to work out. They're just so talented, and right now they're playing so confident. When I talked to Reginald Samples, their coach, before the game, he was like, yeah, I love this. Regardless of how it turns out, this is what we want to be playing. We want to be playing on the big stage against big teams. They're not shying away from anybody, and I think it really showed tonight. They took it to Cedar Hill in the second half.
Corbett, we've now, as we're completing week 3, have discussed a lot of the usual suspects around the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex: Allen, Skyline, Cedar Hill, South Lake Carroll, DeSoto, those schools. Let me ask you to kind of flip the script a little bit and examine some of the ones who maybe have flown under the radar but could be dangerous. Maybe not win a state title, but certainly upset the apple cart when we get to the postseason. Anybody catch your eye in that department early?
Well, Keller Fossil Ridge is a team that really played well last year, and they had kind of a debacle in the playoffs, had a big lead that they gave away against Denton Ryan. But they've improved to 3-0, and an impressive performance tonight against Midlothian, a team that's very solid. So I'm looking at a team like that might be in Division 2, a Division 2 that's a little bit more wide open. There in Region 1. That's the thing. You're going to have to find these teams that will be able to settle into a spot in the playoffs. A team like Rockwall, who did beat Mesquite Horn tonight, they're 3-0 and a very impressive 3-0 at that. I think that the playoffs set up well for them. And how about a team like Arlington Martin? You know, we've talked about Skyline and how impressive they've been. Martin got a win tonight over South Grand Prairie. They improved to 1-2, but they'll at least, I think, get to the third round of the playoffs because they get to go play a West Texas team and then perhaps a Panhandle or El Paso team in that second round of the playoffs. That sets up well for them, you know, to make a little run into the third round. So don't be surprised if you see some of those teams just based on matchups, how they shake out, where they end up in the playoffs.
Thanks, Corbett. Great stuff. Check out his fine work with David Newberry as we simulcast the radio show on 1310 The Ticket at 11 o'clock every Friday night here on Fox. And make sure you get that Sports Day HS app. How do you think I follow all this stuff? Let's take a break on Scoreboard Live. Coming up next, it's off to East Texas. Can John Tyler hold on to their #1 ranking against a rival in Tyler Lee? And we'll check on perennial power Cedar Park and G-Town if you keep it where it is.
We roll it on out to East Texas, White House and Sulphur Springs as it's a battle of cats. And White House defensive tackle Cade Parrish, big hit on Larry Pryor early on. Then it's Trey Samples, big hit himself. Later, Jackson Allen says enough of this big hit. The lefty says, let's go to the air. And it was an aerial battle, a shootout. White House with a win over Sulphur Springs, 56-35. Well, it was a couple of weeks ago that John Tyler had started off the season in the top 10, but down near the bottom of the top 10, thanks to a rash of upsets and JT doing its part in the first 2 weeks. And lo and behold, going into week 3, the Lions, #1 in the state in 5A, standing in their way in non-district play, the old rivals from Bob Lee, Robert E. Lee's Raiders, as the Red Raiders take on John Tyler. And on the first offensive play in this, Jeremy Wilson's ready to go. How ready? 80 yards ready. Into the end zone for the touchdown at 7-0. But he was just getting warmed up. Here's Jeremy Wilson getting warmed up again. A nice touchdown run to cap a drive. It's 14-3. Tyler Lee had trouble early on in the ball game. At turnovers, Juwan Banks can't hold on to this one, fumbles it to the Lions. It leads to a Luis Duran field goal, a long-range field goal. This one from 50 yards for Duran. It looked all JT. They were up 17-3 at the half, but look at the final score. Robert E. Lee comes back and knocks off the #1 team in 5A, John Title Show. Another upset in Class 5A.
Fans loving the rain here in the battle of the 2-0s, Georgetown and Pflugerville. Remember, their old district rivals no more. Pflugerville in 6A. And Damon Johnson says, hey, we're in a bigger class. We're going to score early. 60-yard touchdown run. That made it 7-0. But then G-Town's Dakota Cahill with the beautiful run here. And that would set up Austin McCord on the field goal. Just like that, it is 7-3. Then the Eagles start attacking again. It's Ben Bottlinger to Dakota Cahill. Touchdown. Georgetown rolls. How about it? 31-27. They acted like they were back in the district. Huge crowd there. A lot of energy. They didn't care about the rain there. And with that, let's take a look at the Class 5A top 10 results. Thursday night, Euless Trinity rumbled to 3-0 against 6th-ranked Lancaster. Probably the only team in the state that actually still runs the ball and runs the I formation.
Yeah, they do. They just ran into a tough defense as a Class 6A school. The rest of those schools there in that top 10, you saw Georgetown. Cedar Park is going to be their chief rival in District 25 5A. It should be great. The T-Wolves look really, really good as they look. By the way, Aledo looks okay. They bounced back with the win over Prepa Tech of Monterrey, Mexico, after losing last week to Bishop Amat of California. I think Aledo will be okay.
Yeah, I think Coach Buck, who's now the athletic director, is happy with that victory, seeing all that scoring tonight. All right, break time on Scoreboard Live. Coming up next, the Bill Ford Tough Player of the Week watch list. And we'll learn a lot about Class 4A powers tonight. 2 showdowns between Gilmer and Tatum and Salina and Argyle. Highlights of both games next.
All right. Class 4A, Navasota. So down to the Brazos Valley we go. Second-ranked Rattlers hosting those Trojans from Cold Spring Oakhurst. Cold Spring, as we all know them. Navasota strikes first. Shelton Epper, 30-yard completion to Trendavian Dixon. That leads to a Rattler touchdown from a yard out 2 plays later, and a 7-0 lead. Brock Barbe on that swing pass to Trey Williams got knocked loose. Scoop and score. 14-0 for Navasota. Less than 3 minutes into the ball game. Trying to bounce back are the Trojans, but Navasota just too much for them. They pull away. They win it by a score of 35-14.
Craig, let's take a look at the watch list. These are some of the guys we're keeping an eye on for the Bill Ford Tough Player of the Week honor. Baylor-bound Blake Lynch is an exciting wide receiver / quarterback at Gilmer. Bo Schneider of Dallas Jesuit is committed to Central Florida. And Argyle's Nick Ralston. We talk about him all the time. He's Arizona State-bound. Lufkin's Kiki Kute making Des Bryant proud. And Clear Lake's Jordan Davis, he's a big receiver, and he's on that pipeline to Texas A&M. Make sure you vote for your favorite players based on performances on and off the field at playeroftheweek.com. Well, a big one, and I mean an absolute big one at Tatum tonight. Number 5, Gilmer, and the Tatum Eagles. Gilmer rolls into this one scoring 62 points a game with nearly 600 yards of total offense. That's second most in 2 games in 15 years under Coach Jeff Traylor. But Tatum is 9-1 after byes, and this would be after a bye. Since the millennium, no East Texas team has won more than the Buckeyes. 86% of the time in the W column. Gilmer gets on the board first. McLean Carter to Blake Lynch. He's the guy I was telling you about that should be considered for a Bill Ford Tough Player of the Week honor. He's going to Baylor, 52 yards there. Then more Blake Lynch on the keeper. It was the Blake Lynch show. It's the Lynch mob. They got a bunch of kids to dress up like that, 21-7. Then Tatum wasn't going away easy. J.D. Taylor right there with the keeper within 27-21. But Blake Lynch too much, and they win it 41-35. Buckeyes have won 9 of the last 10 matchups.
Rico, I will see your one Class 4A state-ranked team and raise you another. A matchup of 2 top 10 ranked teams, Salina and Argyle. First and goal, Nathan Elliott for the Bobcats. Quarterback keeper takes it straight up the middle there. 2-point conversion, and Salina on top by a score of 0-0. Then, didn't you mention Nick Ralston earlier? Well, there he is, finding the hole and getting it in the end zone for the score. And Argyle trails by 1. Following a long Salina drive, here's the touchdown in. That one goes in. This was a shootout back and forth throughout the night, and when the smoke cleared, It was Argyle with the win over Salinas. The number 3 beats number 7, 41-29.
I think you trumped me with that matchup. We learned a lot about Class 4A right now, and really, you can look at all these 10 teams. Every one of them could be in the state title game and not surprised.
You can make a case for every single one. Now, Carthage, of course, is now the 1 and 2. Nacogdoches, one of the surprising teams this year out of East Texas. Keep an eye on those Golden Dragons as well this season.
How about that area? Just crazy. The Kilgores and all of them out there. All right, break time. On the show coming up next, Class 3A results, plus the mojo of Odessa Permian making a stand tonight. And could Ennis bounce back after their tough loss to Denton Geyer? Don't go anywhere. Highlights upcoming. Cisco had a great win over Wall last week and held on to that #1 position tonight, Craig.
Biggest thing that leaps off the page to me, defending state champs from Cameron Yo, now 1 and 2 after falling to China Spring. A couple of other notable things there. That was a tough road trip for Wall. They have to go all the way down to Sutton County and beat Sonora tonight, coming off that heartbreaking loss to top-ranked Cisco a week ago. But they did it, and the weather. Too much of a factor for Franklin and Art to be able to get it on tonight.
Cameron has some yeoman's work to get back on track. All right, we continue High School Scoreboard Live just because we can. We're going to get you from 6A to 1A in 2.5 minutes. You ready, Craig?
Let her rip.
Let's go. Starting in El Paso, the mojo of Odessa Permian up against the Americas. Americas fumbles and Permian recovers. We always wonder what's going on in the Permian Basin. I tell you, a lot of teams looking good out there this year. Then Kobe Roberson fumbles on the goal line. And America's covered. And that's the problem. When you got the rainy weather, it causes problems, but Mojo escapes this one 21-14.
From Ector County to Ellis County, it's Waxahachie and Ennis. First quarter, Iris Miles, a handoff up the middle. Nobody's going to touch him. 40 yards. Takes that one in for the touchdown. And a big score there early on for the Tribe. But Ennis ready to respond. Tay Robinson to the air to Dante Thompson. The deep ball. Look at that grab. Great concentration. Down inside the 10. Sets up Thompson Taylor. Scores on the short handoff. Ennis goes on. They beat Waxahachie in that battle of Ellis County 28-7.
From 5A to 4A, Brownwood taking the muddy journey to Liberty Hill. Picking up in the first quarter, John Shannon. And look at this guy. He's hard to find with the camera because he's so darn fast. He'll go 75 yards there for the Liberty Hill touchdown. And they're playing that piano again. Or is it the organ? Colt Beltran to Isaac Sanchez. Nice connection there for Brownwood. They answer. And late in the tight game, how about this? A little trickeration. The onside kick recovered by Connor Howard. And then Colt Bertrand would go to Connor Howard again. 19-yard pass. That set up a 2-yard touchdown to Harley Price. And they go on to win it 43-36.
Liberty Hill with the win there. Down to the Gulf Coast. Tidehaven and Palacios. 66 meeting Palacios, leading the all-time series 37-23-5. Late first quarter. Tidehaven's Eric Villarreal. 34-yard touchdown run on the keeper. Tidehaven leads it by a score 7-0. In the second quarter, let's be a Real again. This time up top, connecting right there with Mr. Fisher. Good catch and run. All Tidehaven to beat the Sharks 40-12.
From 3A to 2A, Electra and Quanah. Electra was electrifying the crowd with this. A 3-yard touchdown from Drake Cooper. 7-0, and Drake would rap about it afterwards. Second frame, Marquise Lee, 79 yards on this one. Oh, look at the big fella go, working his way down the sideline, all the way to the 1. And that would set up a Drake Cooper touchdown, 13-6. And then on 4th and 5, a big one, Marquise Lee, 7-yard touchdown. And they win on homecoming, 25-14.
And finally, some Class A action. You know what that means? It means 6-man, which is Class A now. And so it's Calvert and Abbott, and Dylan Beams bounces off a couple of would-be defenders, takes it up the middle for the score. Then Beams again for the touchdown. Yeah, it's a 6-man game. Class A. Abbott wins the shootout, and they're now 2-0. They win it 44-38. Nice win for Willie Nelson's alma mater.
6A to 6-man, that fast. I am getting tired just thinking about it. Willie Nelson's probably going to write a song about that or something,
You'd
right?
be happy with that.
Yeah, very happy seeing Abbott in the show. Break time on High School Scoreboard Live. Coming up next, it's back out to Houston for the Battle of the Size. And how would Oak Ridge do in the Klein Forest, especially in the mud? Back in the flash.
Yeah, I'm married.
Houston area, Seven Lakes and Clear Falls. Tristan Hibbler to James Brown. I feel good. 40-yard bomb. That made it 7-0, Seven Lakes. Then the fumble on the kickoff return. Seven Lakes recovers and has to settle for 3. Oh, you can't do that in these big battles. 10-0 Seven Lakes at that point. And then in the second quarter, it's Hibbler again. This is a good quarterback. He hooks up to Cameron Thomas. No doubting Thomas is about it. Seven Lakes rolls 43-21. All right, the largest sports facility TV in the world, AT&T Stadium, where the Cowboys play. The largest college football TV, Texas A&M. Like by inches over Texas, that's how they do it. But where is the largest video scoreboard in Texas high school football? Allen? Katy? How about New Caney Porter? That's right. Check Google machine. Opening up their gorgeous new stadium digs in the Battle of I-59 against New Caney. The TV is so big, the remote is bigger than Craig Way's house. It's like 10,000 square feet, right? First quarter, Jarman Burkhalter with a direct snap, 6 yards for the score, 7-0 Eagles. Later in the first, it's Marte Allison with the handoff. That made it 16-7 New Caney. And then in the second, it's Timmy Ware. Where? Right there on the draw. He goes the distance, and New Caney is rolling 23-7. How about that stadium, though? It's gorgeous. $22 million stadium. Then Allison on the handoff up the middle. 15-yard touchdown. That made it 29-14. New Caney rolls 58-33.
Clear and Deer Creek Park. Clear Creek, Deer Park. Quarterback Chase Hildreth going to the air. And nice catch in stride for Brandon Howard. And Clear Creek on the scoreboard first with the deep ball. In the second quarter, Deer Park, however, pops on top. Trey Farmer up the middle 5 yards. Deer Park took the lead. They go on to get the win, 24-14.
Craig, let's bring in the voice, the face, the ears of H-Town. Ahmad Vital of Scout.com. Ahmad, your take on Katy's 50-game regular season winning streak going down tonight to the Woodlands. Did that surprise you?
Actually, Rick, it did not surprise me because since I've been out of school since 2005, there have only been 2 teams that have beat Katy in the regular season, and one has been Cinco Ranch within the district, and the other one was the team that did it tonight in the Woodlands. So this would have been the second time that I've witnessed this. So, no, it doesn't surprise me, and I'm not even so sure that I want to call that an upset because, like I said, the Woodlands has challenged Katy on a number of occasions, and like I said, if you're one of 2 teams that have beat Katy in the regular season, to me that says a lot.
So, Ahmad, it begs the question now, with Katy getting knocked off, is the best 6A team in the greater Houston area still Katy or maybe Manville?
I hate to pull this card, but I'm going to go with the 1A, 1B. Both of those teams have shown to be quite impressive. Actually, I saw the Manville guys tonight hanging out at another game. And they were really excited to see that they probably will be named the #1 team in the area coming out. Manville comes with so much, but you know how this thing works. Katy's probably going to be even more upset going into the rest of the season and probably take it out on the next, 6 or 7 opponents. So, let's not count Katy out just yet. I mean, every dog has his day, and Katy's had its, and the Woodlands came out and basically took over this game with defense. I mean, they came out strong, and Katy missed some field goals and had some missed opportunities, which is uncharacteristic of a Katy team. But when you're a team like that and teams are gunning for you each and every week, anything can happen.
Thanks, Ahmad. Check him out at Scout.com. He's on the pulse of H-Town and the bestseller as an author. I have 1 million of his books in my cellar.
By the way, I agree with him. Don't kick any dirt on Katy just yet.
Yeah, I think Coach Joseph will get that back. Break time on Scoreboard Live. Up next, Neil Beasley makes a run for the other border. In the DK game of the week, it's off to El Paso and points beyond after this. Take on the Coyotes, where Jonathan Campbell makes Campbell's soup, connecting here with O.J. Clark for the big 45-yard gain. What a grab there. Big play. That set up Robert Williams for a 16-yard touchdown run. Look at him. Man, using his blockers beautifully there. That made it 7-0 Coyotes. More from the Coyotes as Campbell hands off to L.J. Dabbs. Just dab it a little bit on the reverse, and he'll do the rest. 46 yards. Wichita Falls goes on to win it big. 27-7 the final there. It's not always the easiest thing to find opponents. So why do you think we've seen folks as far away from Alaska making the trip to Texas in non-district play this year. Well, El Paso Eastlake takes the cake this week. 409 miles to take on basketball power and football school Palo Duro. Craig Way can do that in a car in about 2 hours.
Maybe.
Eastlake had come in the day before for this one. And here it is, 4th and long. Kendrick Buckingham keeps it himself, picks up the big first down. Then the next play, it's Buckingham over to Tevin Donald, and it's all Palo Duro, 35-0. So they travel that far for no points. So in looking at the road trip of all road trips brought to you by State Farm, and they help you on these road trips, Eastlake spent 7 hours on buses. The wheels on the bus go round and round. Over 100 songs on the headphones, I hear. Approximately 40 gallons of gas. And lucky the prices aren't bad because usually they're up in hurricane season. But they get that nice trip back to El Paso. Great.
Keeping it closer to home in El Paso, it's Jaden Jefferson. So, yeah, they're playing local. And then it's Leandre Williams with the local run. Down to the 2-yard line, leads to a score and a 7-0 Husky advantage. Chapin on the move again afterwards, and it's Tyshawn Simon who will cap a drive for the Huskies. Takes it in, short touchdown run. Chapin on top, 14-0, and the Huskies go on to shut out Jefferson 45-0. Now we go on down to the greater Austin area to the Leander ISD to AC Bible Junior Memorial Stadium. It's Leander High against Rouse, the neighbors. Rouse already up big in the third quarter. They extend the lead on this Billy Ray McCrary keeper. Rouse up 23-6. He is quite the player, by the way. More Rouse. Marquis Simmons will take this one 42 yards. This is the only 6A school out of the Leander ISD. It's Rouse, and they play like it. They beat Leander tonight 45-12. Another Leander ISD school in 5A, Vista Ridge, unbeaten, but taking on dangerous Elgin on the road. And for the Wildcats, Jordan Smith on the direct snap takes it in for the score. Elgin's up at that point, 22-21 in the fourth quarter. But ensuing kickoff, DeQuan Patton takes it back to the house for the Rangers. Takes it all the way in. Now it's 27-22 Vista Ridge. Later, Rangers driving. Matthew Snow on the fake to the air. Wide open. Delonte Singleton, 50-yard touchdown run. Rick, we've been telling you about Cedar Park and about Georgetown. Hey, Vista Ridge is in that district. They're 3-0.
How crazy is that district?
And
there's not enough room for 4 playoff teams in that.
And you've got other teams. Vandegrift is also very, very good.
Very good. Coming up next, the DQ Big Game of the Week goes from one end of the state to the other. Neil Beasley makes a run for the Mexican border.
Hey, it's a party time in El Paso, Texas. Canutillo, to be specific, because they got something to shout about down here. That's because the Eagles are having a great time. Last year, 3 rounds deep in the playoffs, looking to go even more this year. How about those Eagles?
Who's got my back? I got your back. You love it. 1, 2, 3. Eagles!
Yeah, but hold on just a second, because the Bears from El Paso Bowie had a good year last year, too. First time in 20 years they had a by-district playoff win. So it should be a great way to open up the district season this year. Perfect to be our DQ Big Game of the Week. It's the Canutillo Eagles versus the El Paso Bowie Bears, and it's big enough to be our
DQ Big Game of the Week!
Lower classification matchup way up at the top of Texas.
How far?
Way up at the top of Texas. It's Perryton and Canadian. Actually, Perryton on the road down to Canadian. Direct snap, and the road to the end zone's right there for Canadian. In for the touchdown at 7-0. Then it is Cooper Trollinger on the receiving end of this one. That's a good wide receiver name. Cooper Trollinger, Canadian with the win, 55-21. Take a look at that top 10 in Class 2A. And you see Canadian there at number 4. Refugio had an open date on the schedule. Big win for Mart on the road at McGregor. Figured they'd get a test. Another big test. Roll down to number 7. Shiner Goliad. Big win for the Comanches on the road at Goliad. And those Mason punchers just keep on punching. They beat Comfort by 11 points tonight. Centerville and Marlin couldn't get it in due to the weather.
You're not pulling any punches on that one. Hey, last week, the 50-foot Fox Express tour bus was in Texarkana. This week, some 816 miles later, and some bugs on the windshield, El Paso and the southernmost high school in the continental United States, Canutillo, just 800 feet from the Mexican border in Juarez. And just to make it interesting, let's play it on the Boise State Blue Field at El Paso Bowie. Birds think it's water, constantly landing on it. Neil Beasley did a cannonball at the 50-yard line. The Battle of El Paso in the DQ Big Game of the Week.
Canutillo High is one of the prettiest schools in West Texas. game day starts bright and early. Nothing like a drum line to get you pumped and ready for a pep rally. It's been over a decade since Canutillo has met up with El Paso Bowie. So this one might get awkward.
Okay, bro. Just has a question for you.
Nothing awkward about middle linebacker Jesse Velasco's game on or off the field.
She said yes, by the way.
Everybody ready to party at a school where every sport but two made the playoffs last year. But there's no splitting the spotlight. Tonight, it's all about football.
I got a question for y'all. What's that question? Who's got my back? I got your back. Who's got my back? I got your back. Who's got my back? I got your back.
And this is not just a huge Mexican flag. That, in fact, is in Mexico. A lot of misconceptions about El Paso being a dangerous city, being so close, but year after year, it's voted as one of the safest cities in America. And it's a good thing, too, because no school is closer to an international border than the Bowie Bears. Bowie Bears are the pride of the South Side. The school with the largest area in Texas, 66.5 acres, is large in Bear spirit as well. This year's squad, no dog and pony show. They fully expect to cook Canutillo tonight.
After we beat them, I'm going to do a little dance on the sideline there. All of you need to be there and watch it. We're going to beat them, and I'm going to dance.
And these Bears have some bite, looking to build on last season's first by-district playoff win in 20 years. And keeping it in the family as well. All 10 Bowie coaches are Bowie alums. But 3 Canutillo players have coaches for dads. Included in that, number 11, Bo Brooks, whose papa, head coach Scott, is nearing 100 wins on the Eagle sideline. And the wind under these Eagle wings is quarterback Javier Gomez, the senior with almost 3,000 total yards last year as a junior, looking for more yards and trophies this year. And don't adjust your sets. This is blue Smurf turf they're playing on, not your customary green, and usually, as the visitors, see in red.
The guys that write the articles don't play the game. You do. Very simple. On offense, we run it, we protect it. On defense, we attack it, we tackle it. You do those things, we'll be successful tonight. Make sure you understand that. You can win this ball game tonight. You will if you do the 4 things. And that's what Bowie football is all about.
Family on 3, 1, 2, 3.
Bowie primed and ready, but Canutillo taking a page from UTEP's pregame script, coming down through the people. First quarter, Canutillo's explosive O, can. Sophomore Josh Hidalgo with the stop here. Bowie then with it. Now, Enrique Romero and Josh Gutierrez combined for the 2-yard loss. Bowie again. No way, Jack. Anthony Meres, nice wrap and a takedown. Bowie Bears just 24 first quarter yards. Finally, Canutillo stud Javier Gomez, and he's off 33 yards, and the quarterback keeper sets up his own score. 7-zip, Eagles finally on the board. Second quarter, 10-play Canutillo drive. Ends in 3, so it's 10-0 home team. At the break, Canutillo just 106 total yards, but Bowie with just 35 total yards. Somebody needs a big second half.
It's like we got a hush going on. We have got to play with energy, and we're not. We're not playing with emotion. We're not playing with anything. You've got to decide what you want to do. You want to win the district championship? Everybody's like this tomorrow. You either won one or you lost one. So what's it going to be? It's up to you guys. They ain't done nothing we ain't told you. We either got to play or we don't.
But it's Bowie that comes out clawing. Eric Pichardo to Steve Saldana, 35 yards, sets up one of 2 field goals. With them both good, it's 10-6. Ball game on. But Canutillo answers a 10-play drive, all of them on the ground. Joe Gutierrez the honors. 17-6. Eagles starting to pull away. Fourth quarter. After holding on fourth down, Canutillo takes over, and 5 plays later, Andrew Alarcon, 2 yards out, 24-6. In fact, Andrew is true once again. 38-6 after this one. Ball game. Canutillo comes alive in the second to win their first game in their new district. 38-6 is your fun.
We just finally woke up offensively. We started waking up. We started moving the ball more, started catching the ball more, and defensively, it just kept doing what they're doing. It's a team effort. All we do is with a team. It's no individualism. We do it as a team. We pound the ball like we're supposed to. We play defense like we're supposed to, and we come together. We have faith in God, and we do it.
I think our O-line got after the second half. We warmed down a little bit, but they had a great game plan. They were stunting, and we weren't picking them up, and they did a good job. There's a reason those kids were in the playoffs last year.
Canutillo wins it then 38-6. Now the field might be funny looking, but it's El Paso Bowie that goes home feeling blue tonight. Our producer, Clark Rowe, photographer Jeff Irwin, I'm Neil Beasley with your DQ. Big game of the week.
And congratulations to Scott Brooks getting his 100th win. You look at Canutillo. I really love the logo in the middle of the stripe. I think it's the only school in the entire state that has that.
Part of what's special about this program is that we take you all across the state, and the same thing, obviously, too, with the DQ Big Game of the Week. You think about it from one end of the state to the other with the crew out in El Paso this week after being in Texarkana last week.
Coming up next, the play of the night. We have so many choices on Upset Friday on High School Scoreboard Live.
All right, Cowboys fans.
Sales event by DQ, the stop sign of Texas. For the best treats, eats, and drinks in Texas. Stop at DQ. And by State Farm. Visit texas.statefarm.com to get to a better state.
Next week's DQ Big Game of the Week is a good one. Smithson Valley and San Antonio Madison going at it, both desperately needing a win in that one.
Well, another long road trip in store. In this case, it's Amarillo Tascosa going down Permian Basin to take on the Broncos of Odessa High. In the third quarter, Rebels, the road team going for it up top of the pass, unable to be caught. However, pass interference keeping the drive alive. Tascosa ends up settling for a field goal, but they do the rest of the job, get a couple of touchdowns on a rainy night in the Basin. They shut out Odessa High 17-0. From the Basin down to the Valley, the Rio Grande Valley, it's Harlingen South. The Hawks taking on Weslaco East, and it's Darren Rivas on for, and he will stuff the ball in there hard. Wildcats keeping it on the ground. Lupe Moron takes a licking and keeps on ticking. He'll turn it and take it to the end zone. Big win for Weslaco East. They roll it, a shutout win over Harlingen South, 30-0. And back to the greater Houston area, and that's Clear Lake and Nederland as it goes over to the Golden Triangle region. Clear Lake on the road, and Deshaun Francis on the handoff, weaving through the defense in for the touchdown and tied at 7. Third quarter, game still tied. Austin Krauts on a handoff for the end zone, in for the Dogs. Nederland up 13-7 from there, however. Clear Lake turns it up. They're up 14-13. Francis another score, and the Falcons get the road win in the Triangle over Nederland 21-13.
Let's check on Port Lavaca Calhoun and the Sand Crabs taking on Corpus Christi Carroll. Second quarter here, Noah Lisk, and he will dash 30 yards to the promised land. That made it 21-14. Then later in the second, Lisk with the truck here, his way, 10 yards, and he gets in. Carroll wins a shootout, 58-55. They are 3-0. Play of the night, Dallas Skyline, Savon Rollison. Look at this punt return. He is unbelievable. Kick return. He'll take it coast to coast for the most. Skyline upsets the defending state champs in Cedar Hill on Upset Friday.
Yeah, that was one of 3 big upsets. Of course, one right at the top of the 6A ranks, along with the Cedar Hill loss. Number 2, Katy, after jumping out to the early lead on the Woodlands. Yeah, there was early celebration for the Wildcats, but then it was all Highlanders. They bounce back the Woodlands, ending Katy's 50-game regular season win streak as the Woodlands wins it 24-7 over Katy. And, of course, the other big news, the number 1 team of the state in 5A, John Tyler, the very week they are elevated to number 1, they get knocked off by their arch rivals, Tyler Lee.
R.L. Turner had a 27-game losing streak coming into this season. They're 3-0. And congratulations to Booker High tonight. Jared Reagan is the state's all-time touchdown king at receiver, passing Dallas Jesuits' Jake Oliver, who's now at Texas playing for the Longhorns, 309 career touchdowns, and his quarterback, Hunter Lyle, is doing it Lyle style. He'll have every passing record in this state when he's done. Lyle and Reagan are cousins, but then again, everybody in Booker is pretty much related to someone because it's a small town.
Absolutely. You ready for district play next week? Because everybody's doing it just about next week.
Thank you so much for watching. For Craig Way, the Guru, I'm Rick Renner. We'll see you next week on High School Scoreboard Live.